Hi everyone, I'm Rose Kaiola, Chairwoman of the Give to Give Foundation. Welcome to Give to Give's second online meditation and learning session. In honor of Women's History Month, we're focusing our March session on our work in women's prisons. For 3 years, I dreamt of bringing the life-changing work of personal transformation into prisons where we know it can change lives for the better and give people new perspectives on their future. It hasn't been easy. We've experienced so many barriers, but we never stopped focusing on our intention. In 2021, this vision became a reality. We started in just one prison, Ecatepec Penitentiary, a prison in Mexico City that had no running water. There, we work with women with difficult histories and an environment that is very challenging, to say the least. We brought the Change Your Mind, Create Your Reality course in, and we saw these women's lives change before our eyes. Among the powerful stories we will hear tonight is about a group of women living in Chalco Penitentiary, cell block number 5. Before our work, they described cell block number 5 as hell. And now that they have taken the workshop, they have transformed it into a refuge of peace. Sometimes you can just feel when something big is happening, and I knew this was just the beginning. Since 2021, we have empowered more than 900 women and expanded to 3 prisons. Tonight, you'll hear about some of those remarkable changes we've been able to support. We've been inspired by the work and powerful journeys to these women to rename our program Prisons to Monasteries. They are proving that we all carry a monastery, a place of peace and empowerment within us, and they make us believe that change is possible everywhere. I'm so excited to announce that we're in the process of bringing this work into the U.S. prison system and plan to expand from there. This mission is near and dear to my heart, and I'm so excited to give our community a deeper look into the work being done here. The Prisons to Monasteries project is all possible through the generous support of people like you. I want to give a special thanks to our Give to Give members who support us through a small gift every month. That monthly giving provides us with a stable foundation to help communities in need. And with that, I'll pass things off to Sonia to get us started.
In a system where you've lost your freedom, could you find the courage to change? If you felt everything outside of you was working against you, would you have the strength to turn inward, to take the reins of your inner mind and change your reality? Our lives are shaped by our vision of ourselves, rooted in the culture we grew up in, our experiences, the people, and the world that surrounds us. Every negative idea can become a prison bar that limits our potential. Over time, we cannot even imagine that we can walk a different path. We pace in our prison instead of going forward. Give to Give Foundation is proving that while we can't change our past, we can change our perspective. We help people in the most challenging circumstances find their way to futures they might never have believed possible. With tools and support, the prisons inside can become monasteries. We support people to find a place of peace, of potential, and the power to confront challenges so they can realize their best version of themselves. Give to Give is a community working towards a world where everyone, everywhere, can learn to access their inner monastery. Join us.
Casi todo el penal está sorprendido con mi cambio tan radical. Durante mucho tiempo, desde que llegué, me costó muchísimo trabajo llegar a esta etapa, que yo creo que era lo que a mí me faltaba. Tengo todo completo para poder salir a la sociedad otra vez y recuperé a mi familia, que era lo más importante. Había perdido todo. Todos me han perdonado, todos me quieren. Todos me dicen que me están esperando, mis padres, pues A pesar de la reincidencia, notaron el cambio en mi voz, nada más en mi voz, porque siempre que les hablaba drogada. Entonces ellos saben que estoy bien. Desde lo del curso, se me proporcionó un trabajo que solventa mis gastos. Y la verdad es que sí lo pude lograr, lo sigo logrando y día a día estoy en la lucha y no me voy a rendir. Gracias.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. And hello, Fadwa. So happy to see you and so happy to remember this beautiful story about Violeta's testimonial, a woman that you got the chance to meet as well, right?
Yes, of course. I will never forget the experience of meeting her and getting to know her transformation.
I know. And I'm sure all of you will never forget this session. Well, we get to share a lot of the experience that we had to witness in this beautiful project. So thank you for being here. And thank you, Rose, for that beautiful introduction. We're so excited to finally have this experience or this opportunity to come to you and share a little bit about the work that we've been doing in this beautiful program, from prisons to monasteries. We'll be sharing information about how it all started, specifically in Mexico City, and how we've been working in the prison of Ecatepec, Chalco, and even Nesa. We're going to be sharing our experience as NeuroChange Solutions consultants, delivering this work into prisons. And while we're speaking, I invite you that please, if you have any question, just place it in the chat box and we'll be happy to answer it when we have our Q&A section. Now, I would love to talk to you about how all this beautiful program started. This beautiful project started with a dream, with a vision, around 3 to 4 years, as Rose mentioned at the beginning. And when the time was right, when all the pieces came into place, then Give to Give, in alliance with NeuroChange Solutions, created this beautiful program to change people's lives in prisons. And it all started with one pilot in Ecatepec for 30 women. Now, it was the first time that we were going to deliver this program called Change Your Mind, Create New Results in prisons instead of companies or organizations. So you might imagine that the circumstances were going to be a little bit different. And as a matter of fact, they were. We had to face a lot of challenges. We literally were in the unknown. So it all started with a small group of 30 women in a very small room that we had to recondition with a screen, with a speaker, with different tools. We had to bring in food, water, snacks, and even the workbooks for them to really go deep into this training. Now, think about this. All these women are used to be abandoned, are used to be betrayed. They don't trust anyone. They live in survival mode 24 hours a day. And for some reason, they gave us the opportunity to share these tools, and they signed in voluntarily from the first time to receive this information. So, of course, at the first day that I had to deliver this training, I received a group of women that were really angry, really resentful, really resistant, and very challenging. Why? Because all of the bad experiences that they have had to deal with. However, when I started to share the proper information for them to really understand why they have been creating all these experiences, and most of all, that they could use some very practical and simple tools to change their realities, then it all made perfect sense for them. I've never witnessed transformations happen so immediately. From day one, when they leave that room, they were so grateful and so committed to start doing the work. And by day 3, I started to witness more and more transformational stories, just like the one you just heard about Violeta. Next step, of course, it was coming back and back. And we started to train more and more women. And every time we came back, it was the same story. These transformational stories became the new normal instead of the exception. Something really profound was going on there. As a matter of fact, more and more prisons become attracted to this work, and they started to ask if we could deliver this work to them. So Fadwa, which you will get to meet in a while, started to prepare to take this work into a different prison, Chalco. Now, after 1 year, we have trained 220 women specifically in Ecatepec. We now know that 64% of them have declared that they have diminished their anxiety levels. 60% says that they have a lot more of self-awareness of who they are and who they want to be. But you know what? The most important part of this work delivered in prisons is that they're inspiring everyone. They are transforming their environment. So now we know that they are changing the culture within the prison. Every time we go back to a prison, there are more and more women coming back to us asking us, when is the next training? When can I sign in? And if you ask them, why do you want to come into this training? They just answer, because I can see the difference in my companions. And I want to know, why do they smile? So after a year of being working with this prison, I had the chance to come back to them this Tuesday, just this week, and had a special community session with all of them in the yard. I was so happy to see that after 1 year, all of them are still smiling, are still shining. They are still doing the work. They are still applying the tools. And of course, they are still having challenges. But the way they respond, the way they overcome these challenges is completely different. Now, I can really say that we know that this work changes a culture individual by individual. I started this training with just a group of women that were sharing the same roof and that they didn't like each other. Today, it's a community of women that are sharing their lives and that they support one another and that they want to build a new reality within this prison. And Fadwa, that just started to do this work 9 months ago, approximately in Chalco, has shared with me experiences that are very, very similar. So I would love you to hear what Fadwa has to say about her experience in Chalco and how the experiences are really similar by applying this work. Fadwa, what can you share about your experience in Chalco?
Thank you so much, Sonia, for sharing again all these beautiful stories of transformation in Ecatepec. The same as Ecatepec, starting this program in Chalco has been a very beautiful and powerful experience for me. So far, like you mentioned, we're changing a culture, we're changing a community, and we have trained 5 groups, which means that we've trained 135 women in Chalco. In this prison, which is a bit smaller, we've trained more than half of the population that lives there. So we can see the impact on how they're starting to change from the inside out. And same as everything you share from Ecatepec, we have gotten very good at creating in the unknown. Just to give everyone an example, this was very different from what I experienced when I was supporting Sonia in Ecatepec. The only space we had to teach in this new prison was outdoors. And what does this mean? Sometimes it gets very sunny and hot, and then at other times of the year, it gets cold and it can start to rain towards the end of the day. So we've had to adapt. We've had to apply the job, the work that we do. And we have worked with Rose and her team to have some shade, to bring a TV that we could move indoors and come and bring back outside every time we're there for the training as a donation. We bring the food, and here is it's very interesting and particular that since this prison is almost 2 hours outside of Mexico City, we got a special permission, an exception to start an hour earlier than any other program that is taught in that specific prison. So for me, witnessing this change is amazing. Yesterday, we had the community day for Chalco, and it is incredible to see the changes that are happening, both individually and as a community. And when Rose gave us her introduction, she mentioned cell number 5. And this cell, I know every single woman that lived there. And by now, after 5 groups, all of the cell has taken the program, the Change Your Mind, Create New Results program. And when I talk to them, they share with me, Padua, we didn't like each other. In fact, we hated each other. We had problems all the time. We were arguing. It was like a very, very tough environment. And little by little, each of them started to be part of this program. And now they share, like, we talk to each other. If there is something we need to resolve, we talk to each other and we come up with what's best for everyone. We live in harmony. They say, and this for me was very impactful, they say, this is our safe space. If someone is getting in trouble or having an argument with someone that is outside or something is happening, they come back to this safe space. So when I hear these stories, I get amazed, like, wow. And this is an example of the community. At the same time, we have individuals that are making changes. One woman, to give you guys an example, has decided to go back to study and finish high school. After she took the program with us in November, she put in all the paperwork. She's starting to do everything that needs to happen so she can finish high school while being in prison. And she says, I'm a little afraid, but I'm excited and I'm happy to finally be doing this, to do and to make a different choice that will lead to something different. So this experience has changed me. When I see them, that they have stopped being in the past, that they are back to the present, and they have created a new state of being, even though they are in the same environment. They choose to use the tools that we provide through this program and move out of a state of survival they have been for years or decades and live in the present. So before, I was very certain that this program really worked, that using practical tools was very powerful. Now I have no doubt that the power that we have as humans to create change and to create sustainable change is amazing. It doesn't matter if it's a group of entrepreneurs, if it's a team in a global company, or if it's communities like prisons. Once the individual makes a decision to change and to create the greatest version of themselves, anything can happen. So now I would like to invite Sonia back so we can start our Q&A session. So Sonia, what has been the most common change you've observed and witnessed in the population of the women you have trained?
That's a very interesting question, Paula. And when I was listening to all the testimonials that you were sharing, a lot of them are very similar to what I experienced in Ecatepec. But if I could pick just one, that it's general, doesn't matter if they keep doing the work or not, something that really happens is that they become more empowered because they have more self-esteem. What I mean by this is that they realize that they should love themselves. They have been feeling guilty, they have been feeling abandoned, and what they learn is that they have become victims of their lives. When they realize that they can be creators of their lives, something happens. And they have had so many experiences that those experiences allow them to learn this information so well that they really get it and they start loving themselves. And with that, empowering themselves and being the creator of their lives. Regarding of all the decisions that every woman needs to take, they all share that in common. They become more and more lovable for themselves. That's what I've seen.
Thank you, Sonia. And yes, it's amazing. I've seen the same impact in Chalco, and that is one of the biggest changes that we observe consistently also. So the second question that we have is, what does the Change Your Mind, Create New Results program look like, and how does it get implemented in this setting? So this is a great question. Like Sonia was sharing, this program was originally designed to be implemented in the corporate world. Now, when we started this pilot, we made some adaptations in terms of timings, how we can deliver this in a different setting, but the modules that we teach are exactly the same. we start to learn two change models that we teach to the women that were created by Dr. Joe Dispenza. We learn about the three parts of the brain that are critical to create change. And they understand that as humans, we have the frontal lobe, which enables us to create a vision, to observe ourselves, to regulate. And then we move into understanding of how do we change? That in order to change, we need to think greater than the environment, think greater than the body, and think greater than time. So we go into detail and teach them what does this mean for them with practical examples of what they live. So that's one of the changes that we've learned as consultants, that we need to adapt the examples. It's the same content, but we use real life examples of what they face in an environment like a prison. Then we move into a model that for them is extremely transformational, that is living in survival and living in creation. So they understand what happens when we face stress, what happens when we are in constant state of survival. And when they understand that, they are able to catch themselves, to observe themselves, to practice metacognition, and realize that they have the power to start changing those unconscious programs that they've been executing for years or decades. And finally, we go into the last module that brings it all together. Is we go to understand the different brainwaves, and then we understand how, using the practical tools that they learn, they can start to tap into the operating system, to start to change those automatic programs and start to become and create that new state of being, the greatest version of themselves, by using 4 practical tools that we teach throughout the model. Both in Ecatepec and Chalco, we teach the program in 3 days, and we adjust a little to make sure that they get the learning of the models that are critical for them. So now I will hand over to Sonia for the next question.
Yes, thank you, Fala. Well, the next question that we have here is, how were the first 30 women selected? Did they volunteer? This is an excellent question. At the beginning, we worked in this project with another foundation, which is called La Cana, and they have been working with 8 different prisons for a long time. So they were the ones that said that Ecatepec was the best option to start this pilot, and that they have been trained, or they have been introduced to different programs throughout these past years. So we made a poster and we just placed it in the prison, and we wait for them to really volunteer, understanding a little bit with the poster what this training was going to be about. And we were so surprised that we had even more than 30 women that were registered for this first training, but we didn't have enough space for all of them. So this first woman got in because they were meant to. They really said, and I remember this perfectly, on this training number 1, the day number 3, one of the women said, crying, you know what? We've been talking about how much we needed help, and we've been asking God, because we pray a lot, to bring us that help. And all of a sudden, you just came here. And that was exactly what we were asking for. So I could say that they created us. These 30 women were ready for us, and we were ready for them. And they just plant a seed that keeps growing and growing and growing.
Thank you, Sonia. The next question is a great one, guys. The next question is, what has been the biggest challenge you have faced while dealing with the prison's administrative systems, if any? And this is something that both Sonia and I have been working with since we started. To be brutally honest, we are always in the unknown. There have been situations that even though we have a permit, everything has been aligned. I remember when I was in Ecatepec with Sonia, we have the permit to use the small classroom that is available, and we get there and someone else is using the classroom. So we were there together. We're trying to negotiate, like, hey, here we have this, like it's official. And the other teacher is like, well, I'm teaching my program. So we do the work, we practice the work, and we embody what we teach. And by just finding solutions and being able to create in the unknown, we are always finding a different way to resolve. In my case, the first group I taught in Chalco, it was the first time we were there. So like I said, the setting where we teach is completely different. It's outdoors. So we were set and we were told that a projector would be perfect to teach the program, which it has videos and it has a lot of information. We have that Dr. Joe videos that are subtitled so they can read in Spanish. And of course we get there. And that having the projector or nothing was exactly the same. Like you couldn't see anything because of course we're outside, it's bright. So I remember I was like, okay, we're here. We don't have any screen or any projector. We're just gonna use. I said I'm gonna use all the tools that I have. And that first day, I did the whole training just using the manual. I actually have one here somehow. So I had the manual with me, and I was like, guys, you go to page number 11, and I used all my energy and all my experience to make sure they would get the concept. So little and big things like this happen all the time. I remember in one of my sessions, there was a rehearsal because it was going to be Mexico Independence Day. So they had a dance that was going to happen the next day. And all of a sudden the music starts playing. And we had already reviewed the model. I had already taught being greater than the environment. And we always teach, we are greater than the environment. We are not victims to the environment. And I remember all of a sudden, they were like, what are we gonna do? And I didn't say anything. I had also like 30 people that time. And all of a sudden, one of them goes like, 1, 2, 3. And they scream at the same time, can you lower the volume of the music? And they said something else again. And all of a sudden, we got a little bit of silence that we needed for the rest of the day. So things like this happen all the time. And I think that's the magic. We create the opportunities to teach it. And Sonia has had, I will let you tell them when you had like no electricity.
I know. Yes. Before I go into the next question, I just remember that. And it was training number 2. And something very beautiful happened. This woman began to change their environment. So the environment becomes a little bit more coherent, even within the incoherence. So for the second training, I get to come in and there's no power, no electricity at all. And it's a very hot place and I need a screen. So what I did is literally, I had my computer and I said, come on, everyone's going to be here. And I pull my computer in and try to find a different model of training. But I love to see them looking for alternatives. I know what to do. I'm going to use this guy to help me. I'm going to go for this person to help me. So they become a lot more coherent to help us find solutions because now they understand that we create our reality. And we have a lot of stories about that we can share afterwards. Thank you, Paula, for sharing that and remembering me that. I have another very, very good question. It says, prison is a place where survival is a reality. That's completely true. How does one expect to get out of fight or flight? And is that even safe and sustainable? That's one of the questions that these women have for us. Like, what? You're telling me to think greater than the environment when my environment wants to kill me? When this person has done this, and that? And it's true. Literally, this woman, at least in Ecatepec, cannot have their own belongings left in their cell. They need to carry a bag, a small plastic bags, with all of the things they need, even the toilet paper. That's how survival represents in their lives. They are not safe. So what we teach them is that that's the personality that you have built within this environment. You have learned a way of thinking, of acting, and feeling, and that is creating your personal reality. So we really teach a model where they get to understand that if they change their personality and they start having a new thought that will lead them to a different or a new action or behavior, that will produce a different emotion. And at the beginning, it's going to feel scary and uncomfortable because you're used to the response of the environment and you'll feel vulnerable. But you need to experience it in order to know what the outcome will be. So at least I ask them to trust me that if they try to do it, they'll find something different. And it's beautiful to see that they do. So at the end, even in the same training, when we come back, that's something that we didn't mention. We do the 3-day training, and then we come back after 20 or 30 days for the first follow-up session. And then again, for 20 or 30 more days for the second follow-up session. And you can see how they were in this fight or flight system, even inside the training, and just participating, saying things about the people that's with them. And by session number 2 or follow-up session number 2, they are hugging this person and saying, thank you. Thank you for teaching me. Thank you, because I was about to go back during these past 2 weeks, and you were the one that reminded me not to. So I don't need to be in survival anymore. They understand the survival state in a completely different way. And they know it's going to take time. But I always tell them, you are building a community and you're the only ones that can support yourself. So be the example of this of this change, so that all of the women that are taking the training want to cross the river of change. If not, you will go back. So, of course, they need to be in survival mode. We teach them that being in survival is not a bad thing, that you need to survive in certain times, but they learn how to regulate, and that this doesn't become their personality. It's just a reaction through certain things or situations. But they start to learn this through the experience in a very, very, very immediate way, faster than any other training that I have delivered in any other group. I hope that answered your question. Paula?
Yes.
Yeah.
And Sonia, I think the other piece that for me has been amazing to observe regarding that part of survival. Once they understand the science and the biology of what is happening in them, then they understand, so then my body is the one that is conditioned to be like this. And they understand that it's going to be uncomfortable at the beginning, unfamiliar, to get out of that survival state, because they've been in that state for so long. But when they start to create these safe spaces as a community, as a culture, then they start to trust. And little by little, they start to practice one of the tools that we teach, the breath, for instance, to do a conscious breath, to self-regulate and just regulate their brain waves, regulate their nervous system. And they start to trust. And when I go back to the follow-up sessions, to your point, it is so interesting when they start to use the language. They tell me, Fala, my body has been resisting, but I still did it most of the time. Not every time, but most of the time. And that's what we say. And Dr. Joe says this all the time. There is not such thing as a bad meditation when they catch themselves. And when they get familiar with what they no longer want to be, and they also get familiar with that new self that they want to create, even though they're in the same environment, for me, that is like, wow. And like you said, when I go back to teach to a company or to the corporate world, and I see that people are facing some resistance, I just think about these women and say, if they can do it in one of the most complex environments, any of us can do it. So that was something that I wanted to share. So I think now it will be time to wrap up the questions. If someone sent a question and didn't get an answer, please send them by email to the following email, info@givetogivefoundation.org, and we will get back to you guys via email on any other questions. And to wrap this up, we're gonna have a beautiful moment where we have an opportunity to meditate as a community. Like Rose mentioned, this week at the community days, both in Ecatepec and Chalco, we had the opportunity to do a very powerful meditation that is called Turning Your Love Inwards. This meditation, created by Dr. Joe, was translated to Spanish specifically for these women. And tonight, we'd like to do the same meditation together here as a community. And as context, this meditation was created for women who usually we give a lot to others. We take care of others. And in this meditation, we want to have the opportunity to be more present, to change our energy, to connect to love and generosity. And it doesn't matter if you're a man, we also invite you to connect to this energy. And we will now start the meditation together. So get comfortable, sit in a position that's good for you, and we will get started.
Eyes closed. Take a breath. For love into your heart. And exhale. And relax. Into your heart. Feel it. Notice it. Your heart. And breathe a little love into your heart. And exhale. And relax. Into your heart. And breathe in for love. To your heart. And exhale. And relax. And let a little more love into your heart. Breathe for love into your heart. And exhale. And relax. And let love into your heart. And let the thought of someone you love bring up the feeling of love. In your heart. Feel it. Hold them in that feeling. In your heart. Hold them in your heart. Feel it. Now put their heart in your heart. And feel your love for them. In your heart. That's your love. You're giving them. In their heart. Feel it. That's energy. In your heart. That's energy. In their heart. That's your energy. In their heart. That's love. Your love. In their heart. That's love. In your heart. Feel it. Experience it. Enjoy it. That's the love you want them to feel. In their heart. Feel it. In your heart. Feel your connection to them. In your heart. One heart. That's love. In one heart. Feel it. And become one. In your heart. That's love. Your love. for their heart. That's your love. In your heart. Feel it. In your heart. That's energy. In your heart. That's a little more oneness. In your heart. That's your connection. To love. In your heart. That's the feeling. You want people you love to feel in their heart. And remember, this feeling know it by heart. That's life. In your heart. Who do you want to be? When you open your eyes. In your heart. Feel it. Your heart. When you're ready, you can open your eyes. And come back to the realm of space and time. Remember, there's love in your heart.
Thank you for joining us for that amazing meditation, the same one we did this past week for our Community Day in Mexico City. It made me feel connected to the women in Chalco and Ecatepec, whose lives have been touched and improved by our community. Together, we can be a powerful force for a common cause. The lives we've changed as a result of your donations are a direct reflection of that. Thank you for allowing us to give a chance for change to those in need. We have our sights set on expanding this program to prisons all over the world and our ability to scale proportional to support our community. If you are inspired to help us expand the Prisons to Monasteries project, the QR code you see on the screen will take you to our donations page. For the next week, all donations to Give will be going to the continuation and expansion of this initiative. If you're inspired as well, please share this video. Thank you for joining us this evening, and we look forward to seeing you at our next online learning session in May.